That is what we're after. I've had a lot of people ask me about how to strike properly into fish. And sometimes it's really easy because the fish will actually just simply take your bait and run. Easy. What about the days when the fishing's pretty hard, you're not getting many bites, and also the bites are tentative? In other words, all they're doing is picking up that bait and dropping it. I'll show you what I do to catch those fish, even on the hardest days. The first thing I'll do is cast in to a given spot, to a target zone that I've got. If I've burleyed up, then I know that the fish will be there. And then I'll put my rod down right next to where I'm sitting. Just cast in, I'm tightening up, I'm struggling to hook into these fish. So I'm not being able to strike into them properly because they're not holding the bait long enough. So let's just look at what I can strike into. I'm zooming into the rod tip so we can see what's happening. As I start to get a little bite, a bit of a trigger there, I know that the fish are around. Then I've slowed this right down so we can see the action of the rod. So that rod moves to the right and then I strike. The trouble is that I did not strike quickly enough and the bite was not big enough to be effective and to hook the fish. It really helps a lot to be close to your rod so you can pick them up. If I sit too far back, then of course what will happen is that I have to run to my rod, pick it up, and then just even a couple of seconds can mean the difference between getting a bite and not. Okay, that's what we want. Little bites like that, good bites. So they've found the bait, they just need to swallow it. So at times like this, have your hand on the handle of the rod so you can actually pull into it. I've slowed this down so we can see the bite. You'll see the rod tip, it moves to the right, so the fish has picked the bait up. I get about 1 second to strike into that, and the striking is pulling the hook into the fish's mouth to secure it. Okay, got something on that. Was a nice little strike. This won't be a big fish at all, but at least it's good to get the first fish in. There we are. Little mullet. The thing to remember is that if the rod doesn't bend around, if you're getting bites and the rod doesn't bend around, if you haven't got that sort of arc in the rod, generally the fish hasn't got the bait in its mouth, therefore you're not going to be able to hook the fish. So if you get the little rattles and then they stop and then you strike into the fish, often you're not going to get it. You've either got to strike while you're getting those active rattles, which is often the fish picking that bait up and just flicking around with its mouth, or when the rod tip goes around. But if you don't strike at those times, generally you're not going to get it. This was a tough day. We weren't getting many bites, so everything was important. So the cast had to be accurate into a zone where I knew I had fish, and then putting my stuff down so I was ready to strike. That's what you can strike into. Yes, that is a better fish. Okay, this is going to be a brim, I'd say. Yeah, and not a bad one at that. Yeah, good brim. As long as I can get it in. That is what we're after. Now, as I see bites, I'm going to strike. I just pull the rod up enough, just far enough to keep tension on that line so that I know that the fish can't get away. If I let the line go slack, the fish will get off. So now what I need to do is keep the line taut, keep tension on the line, always holding that hook in the fish's mouth to bring it in. Here I was striking into relatively small fish that were difficult to catch, but if your striking technique is really good, you can do really well. Have a look at this beautiful fish. Oh my goodness, beautiful brim, massive.